We're going to talk about Hex. Now, what do? Hex token, Hex Coin, prices dropping. Now's the time to get out. It's over with. It's all over with. Hey, I want to tell you why I feel like this is probably happening right here. But really, this is really a chance. There's a lot of people in Hex that are relatively new to crypto. And I think this is a lesson right here. And the lesson is because there's panic, there's like pandemonium, people acting crazy, they're selling out. It's over with. The same people who just, a couple weeks ago were acting like, Hex is going to go to $1. Hex is going to take over Bitcoin. Hex is going to, you're a futter. You can't say anything objective about Hex. It's got to all be positive. Some of those same guys are over here flipping out, freaking out, don't know what to do. The party's over. Look, that's not how it works. When you get into a project, you have to know ahead of time what your plans are. You just say up front, this is what I'm planning to do. And it doesn't mean you can't change and adjust, but you got to rule your emotions. And it's easy to say, I'm taking it to the moon. When it's down here and it goes up, it's easy to be like, oh, I'm going to ride this to the moon. I'm going to just keep going. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to ride this all the way, even if it goes to zero. That's really easy to say until, you got your million or so of Hex and you start seeing the price drop by 20, 30%. And you think about what you had and now you're losing it. That's what every investor runs into. And then all of a sudden people sell and they panic. You can't do that. You just can't do that. You got to know what are your plans and you need to take some profits. It's amazing reading comments of YouTube channels. And it's also sad because it speaks a little bit to humanity. But you got to remember 98% of people are wrong 98% of the time. The masses are almost always wrong. Always. So with that being said, you got to recognize, like when people are like, this is going to the moon. Oh, you shouldn't have sold. You missed out. You sold. You only made 20%. I made 2,000%. You're an idiot. No, he wasn't an idiot. He sold. He made 20%. He made 20%. The idiots got in late. Hashtag me. The idiots are losing now. Hashtag me. If you want to call somebody an idiot, call someone who got in late. But it's really not smart throwing the idiot word around with people in your project because there's a lot of people who aren't even in your project. You can't fault someone for making a profit, but at the same time, you can't be fearful of making a profit. You got to plan that things can go down. Now, right now, what do? It depends on what you think about the future of the project. If you've made some profits, maybe you sell a little bit just to go ahead and lock in some profits. It's your decision. You can't let greed be like, oh, I lost all this. Look, this might not come back. That is a possibility. That is a full-on real possibility. This might not come back. Or it may just go, and this could be a blip, and it'd go, 10x from here. Or it could go all the way to zero, or very low to zero. Close to zero. Well, it would go to zero because you would lose liquidity on Uniswap at some point. So you got to understand, what do you plan to do at this point? It's your call. It's your decision. But take a measured approach. If you've made some profits, take some profits off the table. If you haven't made profits, then maybe you want to ride it out. And if you're sitting there thinking, I got, my college tuition money, my mortgage money in this thing, and I need to, well, that's your first sign. You probably should have never been in it in the first place. Shouldn't listen to some YouTuber, pumping their bag or whatever, who can't be objective. You got to recognize projects go south. Now, I think part of this, I've on my channel showed before that Richard Hart was recycling Ethereum. Regardless of what you think about it, I know that, and I chose to get into the project. People tried to say it wasn't happening until then everybody said, well, it's happening, but the people who comment on the video, there's a few people who were still trying to say it wasn't happening, but you were just choosing to be oblivious. And I'll link that video above if you want to watch it. But here's the thing. I think part of this is there's a couple things you need to realize. By Richard Hart recycling ETH in the contract, and at some one point he was recycling about 95% of the ETH in through the AA Lobby. So with that happening, you need to recognize that it gave an incentive. The issue isn't, so I'm not necessarily saying that Richard Hart, I think what he's done here is he's just stopped recycling as much. And I think he knows that he can't keep it going on forever. So the longer you just keep the recycling up, my guess is he just stopped recycling as much potentially. And I'm just speculating here for the price to go down. But here's the other thing that's happening that Richard Hart can't fully control. If you look at some of the charts that exist out there, I think it's Hex Info or whatever. If you look at some of the charts and you look at what percentage is staked, a very small percentage of a Hex is staked. And one of my commenters is like, oh, you're missing the point. The whole point is to stake Hex. No, you missed the point. Most people aren't staking Hex because the price appreciation is going up so much. They want to stay liquid. They want to be getting out when it starts doing this. Anytime the price goes up so fast, I actually think it almost defeated the game theory of, I think the way it was designed, in my opinion, the way it was designed to do, if FOMO didn't exist, it was designed to go up over time because slowly tokens would get locked up longer and longer and longer. It would almost create a quasi sort of deflationary tokens. And if you look at a lot of deflationary tokens like Frag and Void, which have both of those have some pretty cool stuff under development, by the way. But if you look at those tokens, you'll recognize they don't spike hard in price, nothing like this. And part of it's because they haven't actually felt the deflation hit yet, but eventually they probably will, and you'll start seeing those coins creep up and creep up and creep up. The way that Hex shot up like that, it was all FOMO. And most people weren't staking because they didn't believe in the CD portion of the the project. They were just jumping in to maximize their price gains. And so now those are the very same people that are tanking right now. If Richard Hart, this is just my projection, would allow it to grow a little bit more organically, I think we would see less violent swings like this. Now, with that being said, there's a couple things that can happen here. We may see Hex develop a floor at some point. And if you do, that's going to be good, and it could have the potential to creep back up. A lot of people were saying after big payday, a lot of people have told me in my Hex videos, after big payday, then it's not going to matter because it's going to be a normal coin. Yeah, I think you're right, but price was going to collapse after big payday. You were going to flood the market with Hex. Price was going to absolutely collapse, provided there was liquidity. I don't understand where all the buyers would be when there's that much Hex that's going to flood the market, flood Uniswap or wherever. So, yeah, it turns into a normal token, but it's going to rebuild a floor somewhere very low. In my personal opinion, anytime you have a tremendous supply, you're going to end up having very low demand, and that's going to equal low prices. But here's what we want to take away from this. If you've lost because you bought up here and it's down here, or if you bought down here and you're feeling sad, you've got to rule your emotions. Create a plan. Don't go in with so much that you want to be. A lot of times people feel like they need to go in because they're afraid it's going to 10x and they're going to miss out on it. If I would have had $1,000 and it would have became 10,000, that's a lot better if I would have had 100 and it became 1,000. Yes, but you're only looking at it in one direction. What if your 100 went to 0 or your 1,000 went to 0? You might be glad you went with 100. You've got to use small enough numbers that you're not worried either way. And a lot of times you can think you have a certain risk tolerance, but when the proverbial, you know what hits the fan, you're out. Like your emotions are all wrapped up in it. And that's what you got to be aware of. But I'm optimistic to see what happens with the project. I don't think it's the end of it. There's still a lot of time between now and big payday. Will we see highs like this again? I don't know. I mean, I think so, but I don't know. I don't know. For me personally, I'm just holding and watching. And I'm really watching people's reaction. I mean, it's a great study of people, just watching how people respond in comments. Heck, all you got to do is look at the comments underneath this video, and you can see how people are responding. But just know this, it's never all or nothing. There's nothing that's 100% amazing. You got to recognize the weakness, and you got to know that you might have to deal with the weakness. And this right here is the weakness. Why? Because Richard Hart can pump this back up. He can absolutely recycle ETH and pump this back up. But I think what he should be doing is slowing down the recycling and backing out of the recycling and let the project go under more organic measures. I don't know for certain that he's recycling now because I haven't went and looked it up or paid attention to it. But my guess is he hasn't stopped recycling, and he still might be doing it a little bit. He might be trying to unwind it and back off of it, so to speak. Pull the Hex price off the drug of Recycle City. But we'll have to just see what happens. Feel free to let me know your comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Just remember, don't panic. Have a plan before you get into your investment. And just take it easy. Don't invest more than you can afford to lose. Cryptocurrency is risky. New projects are even more risky. Thank you so much for watching. I got some new projects I'm going to be talking about in the future. And if you want to hear about those projects, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up if you like it. And if you don't like it, it's all right. You can give it a thumbs down. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Take care. Remember, crypto equals freedom. Oh, I want to say this. If you don't have the crypto.com debit card, I think everybody in crypto should have that debit card. I just did a video talking about the 4 reasons why I think it's going to change crypto. I'll put that video above, or actually I'll put it on the end screen. I encourage you to go ahead and watch that video, because that is a game changer for crypto, in my personal opinion, until we get something a little bit more decentralized anyway. Thank you so much for watching. Crypto equals freedom. This is Crypto Wealth. I'm out.